Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to get to wave 100 plus in Nova Drift on Mayhem mode. This build works for people who can or can't aim, depending. All it requires is a little bit of luck and even just the smallest bit of skill. So first, you're going to want to start off here. In Mayhem mode, it's hard. Well, it's the point of it. But you're going to want to get swords, because swords do massive amount of damage in this giant AoE. You're either going to want to get Siphon or Halo. I'm going to be taking Halo here because it's the first one given to me. You see, there is one drawback with Halo. You have to be careful when you get close to people because it will drain your shield when burning. You see, now you're going to want to get Battery for your body. This will give you 2 extra swords, making this one of the most overpowered combos in the game. Similar to how Blade Drones and Spectre work in unison to keep you invisible forever. This is not how the game's supposed to work, but so you're gonna want to get as much hull and regen as possible in the early game, because that's the most common point of failure for this build. And now, you see, here's a key upgrade: Scorching Wake. This leaves a deadly trail of fireballs behind you, and it's recursive, which is very important to this, because the more you have it, the more fireballs you leave behind. And combined with the incendiary upgrades, you can get that damage up to incredibly high numbers. This build relies heavily on movement too. This is another key aspect: Deadly Wake. This combines with the fireball one to create a more deadly thruster wake. This will create a much easier way to just kill things passively and usually knock out the more tedious enemies in the game. And if you're not getting either movement, tankiness, or damage here, you're going to want to reroll. You see, Transcendence, that's a great upgrade for this build. You can see this build is built around moving fast and burning everything you see. So you can just burn all these enemies without having to actually fire your weapon, because that's a crucial point in this build, is how slow the swords are. So if you're spent in between like swords, that's where you're gonna get killed easily. So you're gonna want to try to divert yourself from a more weapon-focused playstyle to something much more reliant on your thrusters, these thruster weapons, because it can easily just do tons of damage if the enemy just sits there. Like, I killed a boss without even having to fire my weapons once. You see, getting weapon upgrades is still recommended, but these thruster ones are what you really want to get. Movement and burning. That's truly, like, crash damage and that kind of stuff also will help with it, because you'll find yourself crashing in to enemies much more than you usually would, due to the fact that you're trying to get these kind of like burn trail effects on them. This is a very important upgrade: Blink. This allows you to teleport mildly kind of close to an enemy, but will help you evade enemies and help you get Scorching Wake and Deadly Wake close to them. So you can say, like, there are, of course, some bosses you'll need to use your weapons on, like this. But it becomes very important later on when you have enemies like Station Omega, where you can use Blink to get through the ring. You see, we're not getting any, like, good movement upgrades here. We're gonna re-roll. Burst Fire I would not recommend due to the fact that it can really slow down the swords. You see, I got Purge there. Purge will allow you to deal, like, massive amounts of damage to people by just burning them and then hitting them with the swords. So you're gonna want to get propulsive munitions here. This will help you with stopping, like, because if you choose to get Streamline in this build, it will seriously make you more floaty. But since you're turning around, to get these wakes to damage the enemies, you can use your swords backwards for the extra damage. So you can go, and this build is built massively around just one-shotting everything, because you can get it to be fairly tanky, but if you're not tanky enough, it can be, like, massively, because this build doesn't have that. This build, you're not having a lot of health in it, but what you do have is that movement and crash damage. So if you can just really quickly kill someone, if you can just really quickly kill the enemies and they don't have a chance to hit you, so they can't kill you. But that of course requires you to have stuff like Fiery Wake and Deadly Wake. But here's the problem with this build. With bigger, tankier bosses like that, if you don't kill them fast, it can get really tricky. But if you manage to get lucky shots off, it can easily speed up boss fights and make it so you take almost no damage. You see, it is advisable that you get stuff like Spontaneous Generation and Ally, specifically the Interceptor variant. But you shouldn't be specifically going for that over some of these more important upgrades. Specifically, Deadly Wake and Scorching Wake. Those two are quintessential to this build. And it is natural, like, if there's some mods that are objectively, like, that will help you in your case, of course, feel free to take those. This isn't an objective guide of how to play this game. But This is just to show some people how. This is just to help you along. You see, now we have ally, which can be majorly helping if you get interceptor, due to the fact that it also gains 4 swords. And the swords are, in my opinion, one of the best weapons in the game due to their extremely high damage and large like AoE like attack. So when you now have 8 of them, when you're usually only getting 2, it becomes an incredibly overpowered and like just it becomes an incredibly overpowered combo where you can just you can rely on your ally to kill things while you heal up, but you can also use it to kind of cool down while you're like in the middle of a boss fight and have it get to some of the trickier spots. So you see, I'm waiting to get Scorching Wake as my next recursive wild mod, because I took Explosive Growth as my last one, and if we can get 4 more stacks of Scorching Wake, it'd just be like incredibly overpowered. You see, this build does require a fair amount of aggressiveness, so for those of you who like to play it safe, like with a Blade Drone Spectre combo, this could be a little different from your usual playstyle, but it is extremely overpowered due to it's just, you basically just have to go near the enemies and kind of like do a few loops around them and do it almost instantaneously. Like, and if all else fails, you can always use the almost instantaneous death of just using Blink to go inside the enemies. Don't take that out of context. But it gets very hectic very fast. And it can make these rooms like these, or not rooms, waves like those, much easier and also much more beneficial. You see, I just took Galvanic Outburst. That wild mod, I got 4 of it, and it can majorly like destroy enemies. You see, this build is built almost entirely off of those burns and crash damage, and Galvanic Outburst adds majorly to the crash damage, especially when you run into a lot of projectiles like these things. When you're fighting bosses like these, you do not want to get close to that lance. The lance can deal massive damage. Just from being at the tip of it. You see, singularities like this, boss fights where they rely on movement, like negating effects, will be pretty easy with this build due to the fact that this build can get very, very fast. If you stack the right movement mods, it gets extremely fast. You see, when you're at these kind of stages in boss fights, you're going to want to use, like, see, we can blink in there and just kind of, like, and now it's just gone. Due to the fact that, like, that burn trail combined with the swords, it's a deadly combo and can kill most normal enemies in seconds and bosses much faster than many of them would. And just being able to just go away from a boss while still dealing damage will majorly save you on risk and health. So we're gonna want to, when you have mod screens that look like this, when there's not much good here, you can either choose to reroll or take something like payload or targeting. Weapon calibrating can be very good because we don't fire that much. So when we're not firing, we're getting extra damage in on our weapons, which can basically make us much more deadly when we swing those swords. And because swinging the swords is that's not our main focus. The main focus is not on the weapons. The weapons just help with dealing with more of the trickier enemies that have more health. The burn trail I want to specify, the burn trails are what's supposed to be doing most of the damage here. You don't want to be firing your weapons because the problem with swords is you have to be close, and being close means more risk, which means higher likelihood you are to die. You see, we have another Scorching Wake, which means more fireballs and more damage, which means just, you can see there is a noticeable increase in the fireballs, and now they do almost double the damage that they were doing before. So now that we have 2 fireball stacks, we're getting a nice just like plume of death after. And they're not like the deadly wake ones, which you kind of have to move around. You can just move out of you can move out of an enemy's way just by getting close to them and doing that. And like you can see thousands of damage there from just hitting my thrusters pointing away from them. Spitfire is a complete joke in this game. Like, even with any build, you can hit Spitfire with just... And you see, we've gotten a third one. Okay, I accidentally got, Rapid Reconstruction here, which means this might end a little early. Rapid Reconstruction being a mod that just takes away your shield in return for like a bunch of health. That can be that might just end our run here. But for now, we're still gonna be going. You can see I've got a third stack of Scorching Wake here, and it's just shredding these enemies. They don't stand a chance, especially the bigger ones that you can kind of just like sit in front of and burn. You'll rack up thousands of damage on them, and it's just easy as going like that, and you just melting like it for absurd amounts of damage just through the burn. So I'm not counting my waves right now, but I'll update you on how far we got by the end of the run. You may not get as far as wave 100 plus, but we might, but we will be getting a much higher round than just a standard, like, willy-nilly build on Mayhem mode. Last Stand. I've never used this super mod. I just got it from my last run recently. When you are destroyed, a massive blast levels your enemies. You are reborn once again. Plus 100. So this looks like an incredibly powerful, yet this looks like it could extend your run majorly. So I would probably recommend picking this up. 3,000. Thousands upon thousands of damage just from, like, going, like, boom. For most builds, those would take at least a few seconds to kill. In seconds, you do not want to be wasting your time in this game with stuff like that. You want to be insta-killing. You want to be getting as close to insta-kill as you can with stuff like this. So we can just, you can always pull the maneuver of just kind of going up to an enemy, going like that, and it will almost be guaranteed to kill the smaller ones, and the bigger ones will do massive, massive damage to it. I want to emphasize, you are not, treat these Scorched Trails like your main weapon. You are not trying to hit people with these swords. And the reason we're not using Firefly here is because battery just makes swords that much overpowered. So we can just go up here and hit him with that. And this is a relatively easy boss, but it can be very tanky. But it can be very tanky. But oh, we just activated what was it called? The Last Stand. You can see we have like no shield, we have no health at all. So this might be the end of the run here. But we just like blasted yep, that's the end of the run. But we got to wave 80. You see, I didn't get to wave 100 due to the fact that I picked up rapid reconstruction. That pretty much killed the run because you lose your shield. But if you don't accidentally take rapid reconstruction, this can go much farther than wave 80. And all it takes is a little bit of skill. You can remember, you're gonna want to take for your weapon swords, shield, burn or halo, or not, siphon or halo, and for your body battery, you're gonna want to stack Scorching Wake and Deadly Wake. Blink will be your best friend during this. And you're just gonna stack these. Something that adds to like crash damage, such as Galvanic Outburst, will help you. And when you've gotten all of that, try to stack Defiance as much as you can, because Defiance will seriously help with stuff like that. You can see on this second run, I was using this exact build. Similar, you can see we have Strafe here, but you want to build a run similar like this. But that's my tutorial, I guess, on how to get to Wave 100 plus on Mayhem mode. If you like videos like this, leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever else the other people tell you to do. But thanks for watching and goodbye. Damn, I just made a tutorial. I talked the entire fucking time. I mean, damn, that was actually a pretty good run. I just screwed myself with the thing. I just screwed myself with that one thing.